Today, we're going to dive into one of the most legendary self-help books ever written, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Now, this thing is way more than just a book. It's a whole philosophy. And it all came from a massive 25-year study kicked off by the industrialist Andrew Carnegie. His goal? To find the common thread, the one big secret that connects the world's most successful people. So, what was it? Let's get into it.
Everything, and I mean everything, in this book rests on this one single powerful idea. Hill is basically saying that our thoughts aren't just these random fleeting things buzzing around in our heads. Nope. He says when you mix a thought with real purpose and a ton of persistence, it becomes a tangible force, a force that can actually create your materiality. It's a pretty wild claim, right? But it's the foundation for everything we're about to talk about.
And this is where the whole epic journey started. Picture this. It's 1908. Andrew Carnegie, who was basically one of the richest men on the planet, sits down with this young journalist, Napoleon Hill, and he gives him this monumental challenge. Go interview the most successful people in America and figure out their shared formula for success. A formula that, anyone could use. But here's the kicker. Carnegie didn't just give him the mission. He gave him the secret to look for. So Hill took on the challenge. And get this, he did it without pay. He literally bet his entire career on this one single idea. This wasn't just some side project for him. It turned into a deep, all-consuming investigation into how achievement actually works. It would span more than 2 decades and become his entire life's work.
I mean, just look at that timeline. 25 years. For a quarter of a century, Hill was sitting down with the absolute giants of his time. We're talking Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, even Theodore Roosevelt. He wasn't just collecting cool stories. He was on the hunt for a repeatable pattern, like a universal law of success that was hiding in plain sight. And then, finally, in 1937, he put it all down on paper.
So what was the secret? What was at the heart of it all? Well, this right here. The core idea is that real, lasting wealth and success, they don't start with money. They don't start with connections. They start with an idea, an intangible thought that, if you nurture it the right way, can be transmuted, that's his word, or basically transformed into its real-world financial equivalent.
Okay, so how does this all start? How do you even begin this transformation? Well, Hill is crystal clear on this one. The first, most critical step is something he calls a burning desire. This is the absolute starting point. Without this, he says, nothing else in the philosophy even has a chance of working.
And he draws a really important line in the sand here. See, a wish is passive. It's just, gee, I hope I get rich, or I want a lot of money. But a burning desire, that's an active, all-consuming obsession. It's specific. It has a deadline. It demands you do something about it. It's the huge difference between just kind of wanting to be rich and deciding with every fiber of your being that you will be.
And to show you what he means, Hill tells this incredible story about a guy named Edwin C. Barnes. Now, Barnes had one single burning desire in his life. He didn't just want to work for the famous inventor Thomas Edison, he was determined to become his business partner. I mean, think about the sheer guts of this guy. He had no money, 0 connections, and he didn't even know Edison. He hopped a freight train to get to his office, took a low-level job sweeping floors or something just to be in the building. For years, nothing happened, but Barnes just waited. He never lost sight of his goal. And then, when Edison invented a new machine that his own salesman said was impossible to sell, Barnes saw his opening. He stepped up, said, I can sell it, and he did. He became Edison's national marketing partner. He literally thought his way into a fortune because his desire was that strong.
Okay, so having a burning desire is step 1. We get it. It's crucial. But then what? How do you actually make it real? Well, this is where Hill gets super practical. He lays out a very specific 6-step formula to turn that fire in your belly into actual cold, hard cash.
Now, this is the real meat and potatoes of the book, and the little details here matter a lot. Hill is all about being specific. No, I want to be rich. It's, I want this exact amount of money. Then you have to decide what you're going to give in return, because there's no such thing as something for nothing. You need a deadline to create urgency, and you got to write out a plan and start right away. And then there's the final, crucial step. Read that statement out loud every single day and really feel like you already have it.
So why is that 6th step, the reading it out loud part, so important? Well, because this whole thing isn't just about positive thinking. It's about consciously programming the most powerful part of your mind, what Hill calls your subconscious. It's the engine that drives everything.
The fancy term Hill uses for this is autosuggestion. It's basically just self-suggestion. Think of it as the bridge that connects your conscious mind, where you have the desire, to your subconscious mind, which is like the factory that actually gets to work, turning that desire into reality.
So here's the thing you have to get about your subconscious mind. It's ridiculously powerful, but it doesn't really think for itself. It just accepts whatever you tell it over and over again, and it works on both positive and negative thoughts. That's why you have to supercharge your instructions with emotion and genuine belief. Reading your statement with feeling, like really feeling like you've already succeeded. That's the key that unlocks the whole thing.
But okay, even if you have the burning desire and you're programming your subconscious, there is one more ingredient that is absolutely non-negotiable: persistence. And to hammer this point home, Hill tells his most famous story. The story is about a guy named R.U. Darby's uncle who got gold fever. He went out west, found a really promising vein of gold, got his family to chip in for machinery, and started digging. He was pulling ore out of the ground. He was right on the edge of a massive fortune. And then the gold just vanished. The vein disappeared.
They kept drilling, but nothing. They were defeated, they were broke, so they just gave up. They sold all their expensive machinery for a few $100 to a local junk man and went home totally crushed. They quit, just 3 feet from the gold.
Now, the junk man wasn't a better miner, but he was a whole lot smarter. He went out and hired a mining engineer. The engineer took a look and said that gold veins often have these things called fault lines. He did some quick calculations and figured the gold would probably reappear just 3 feet from where the Darbys had stopped digging. And, of course, he was right. The junk man made millions. And don't think this was just some one-off story. This was a pattern Hill found again and again in his research. Temporary defeat is not permanent failure. For hundreds of the most successful people he talked to, their biggest, life-changing success was waiting for them just one step past the point where they felt completely defeated. And here's the best part of the story. R.U. Darby, the nephew, never forgot that lesson. He went into selling life insurance. And every single time a potential client told him no, he just remembered that he might be 3 feet from gold. He refused to stop, and he ended up becoming one of the top insurance salesmen in the entire country. He turned his family's biggest failure into his own greatest asset.
So as we start to wrap this up, it becomes pretty clear that the secret in Think and Grow Rich isn't some kind of magic spell or hocus pocus. It's a practical, psychological process. It's all about understanding how your own mind works and then learning how to deliberately aim it at a very specific goal. So if you're going to walk away with anything, it's this. It all has to start with a burning, super specific desire, not just some vague wish. You've got to turn that desire into a concrete plan using those 6 steps. Then you use autosuggestion to hammer that plan into your subconscious, fueling it with belief and emotion. And finally, you just don't quit. You persist, knowing that no is often just a temporary stop on the way to yes.
Now, Hill did something really interesting in the book. He famously said that the secret is mentioned over and over again, but it's never actually named outright. He wanted you to be ready to discover it for yourself. So after everything we've just gone through, what do you think the secret really is? Because ultimately, that's really what it all boils down to. In a world that can feel chaotic, with so many things we can't influence, the one thing you have complete and total control over is your own mind. The great secret, the one that powered Carnegie, Ford, and Edison, is just knowing that your thoughts, when you aim them with purpose and back them up with persistence, are the creative force that literally builds your world.